Remember people used to do a lot of beatboxing?
Oh, I think now's the time to do this. I literally used to perform beatboxing.
Do it.
No.
Yeah. Do it. Please do it.
Like,
hit us with some.
Give me something.
And then, Chris, you drop rhymes over.
No, I was going to say Dwight.
Yeah.
Dwight's going to spit. Dwight's going to spit over top of it. Yeah.
I'm ready.
I'll
I'm
only
ready
do
to-
it if you promise me it doesn't make it in the episode.
No, I can't see that.
That I can't do it.
No. I'm sorry. This is now the second you pressed record. You have consented that everything you record is now intellectually owned by Eat the Rich in perpetuity for 1,000 years. So,
God damn it.
unfortunately,
A trillion years. You signed a trillion-year contract as soon as you agreed to appear on the show.
This is part of the Copyright Extension Act.
Yeah. When we originally met was not on Twitter. It was, in fact, at a dusty crossroads, and we made a very interesting bargain. Frankly, I think it was worth it.
you guys want to live forever?
I've looked into the gates of hell, and you know what I saw? I saw my own mother crying. Tears streamed down her face.
Jesus Christ. This is dark out the gate.
You want to know how I got these ears?
My father was an anti-Semite, and a damn good one. And one day,
Lord.
he starts acquiring properties a lot more than usual. My mother tried to break him up with an antitrust law, and he didn't like that. Not one bit. So he went into the kitchen. He went to the Supreme Court.
It's a good catch.
Thank you.
Good
And he starts telling the court, what's wrong with copyrights? She started to cry. She got herself a mass movement to protect herself. God. I have watched The Dark Knight start to finish
I was
maybe 100 times. Like,
What was the one that you did? You rewrote it as another.
yeah, this is a hot plug for the podcast. I literally rewrote the entirety of the Joker movie as a
That's
Wes
right.
Anderson movie. It is 92 pages. It's fully screenplayed out. I casted, I think, like 9 people in it.
Yes.
I have one line. I've got a little cameo.
Oh, yours
in
is
there.
great. You were the apathetic MC who does ketamine.
Yeah. I like it when you sent me that. You were like, give me like, 1 or 2 takes that I can use, and I think I sent you like 12.
You and Carrie,
because I kept doing it over and over.
you and Carrie
again.
sent me like one audio thing, and I was like, oh, cool. I was like, it's a bit large. It was like 430 megabytes. I was like, damn, did these guys like record like in a professional sound studio? And I look at it, it's 36 minutes long, and like half of it is you guys doing stand up only to each other. And I sat there and listened through the whole thing.
We had so much fun with that, man.
I hope to do it again.
I'm ready for another one.
I have one in the chamber, actually.
Is this a teaser?
Man,
or are
give
we
me
getting
in.
a little
Give me
tease?
in. Give me in.
Yeah,
on it.
I'm ready.
So
I'm ready.
I have a little treatment written out for The Dark Knight as a Woody Allen movie.
I don't know what I need to do to get on this.
So this is...
I'm willing to degrade myself.
So the entire movie would be in black and white, right? Or at least the radio play would be black and white. And then, it fades in and you hear Woody Allen's voice go. It's a whole intro to Manhattan. And it's him talking about Gotham. It's like, oh, Gotham, this city that never sleeps. I mean, especially not even with you, even if you asked it very nicely. He's like, no, scratch that. Chapter 1, she was a fierce bitch. No, scratch that. We can't be talking like that anymore. Just like over. I have so much written out for it.
Oh my God. Your
Your eyes lit up.
They really did.
Are you a closet Woody Allen fan? One of the shameful bunch that I'm a part of?
It's a shame. I mean, I haven't seen all Woody Allen
No,
movies.
because there's like 90.
I was a big Woody Allen fan, like in middle school and high school. Yeah, I really was.
I'm convinced that Annie Hall is like top 10 best movie ever made. It's so good.
It sucks. Why do they have to do this?
Yeah.
Why do they have to be weird perverts, man? All of them.
Yeah. Why is like 2/3 of Hollywood actively pedophilic?
Can we just have some things that's just like nice?
Yeah. Because what sucks is like I remember learning about Woody Allen, being depressed about it, and I'm pretty sure I had the thought like, well, at least I've got Roman Polanski. Great.
Even like in like the 80s, it was like such a more male supremacist time because everyone was just like, well, let's just say his relationship with his adopted daughter is a little funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is bad, man. Like in like the clarity of day, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. There's like only one old-timey director I know of that wasn't like a complete raving lunatic, and it was Orson Welles.
I was just gonna say, man. At least he's just an alcoholic.
I don't know if you guys do media inserts because like I'm just addicted to doing media inserts.
Tell we're doing Paul Masson.
Yes,
champagne.
we are. Ah,
yeah, of course.
The French champagne.
102, take 2.
The French champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence. There is a California champagne by Paul Masson, inspired by that same French excellence. It's fermented in the bottle, and like the best French champagne, it's vintage dated. So Paul Masson.
102, take 3.
Action, please.
The French.
I love when he looks at the one guy and he's just like, and he's hammered, and he's like, he doesn't do anything. He's like waiting for his cue to come in. There's too much direction around here.
What about Stanley Kubrick? Was Stanley Kubrick a weird
He
pervert, or?
mentally abused the shit out of Shelley Duvall to the point that
I knew
he,
that.
Like,
I did know that.
Probably gave her a mental disorder, like in a very
Yeah.
unfunny way. But I found out very recently, like literally within the last few weeks, there's a town in Texas that like literally takes care of her. She is like a beloved
Really?
member.
She's from Texas.
Yeah, she's like a beloved member of this community, and people stop by and like try to like harass her, and the town will literally do like the Frankenstein like mob trip to like get them out. Supposedly.
Wait, is she not doing that well these days?
No, she.
Oh, really?
I don't want to say with like certainty, but like
Yeah, I
she
had
like
no
slipped
idea.
into like extreme drug use, if I remember right. And but like Kubrick obviously like didn't do that to her, but he certainly didn't help.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. So Kubrick's not great. Peter Bogdanovich is wonderful.
Let me get my
Oh
Google
man,
fingers
have you
ready.
have you not listened to the series
I don't
TCM
know
did
any of
about
this
him?
shit. I want to be clear. When I came on Mr. Movies and we did Dracula, that was like the most important film excavation that I've ever done and will probably ever do in the entirety of
I'm
my
looking
life.
at Peter Bogdanovich.
That's it.
So
for
Peter
me.
Bogdanovich did the Last Picture Show, which is like the great American movie in my personal opinion. But like there's a podcast TCM did with him called The Plot Thickens, which is like a kind of like a life summary of Peter Bogdanovich, because he's like I hate doing this shit. Like he like literally is like one of those filmmakers that like he became a director because he had to, if that makes sense. But
I have no idea.
Had he not, he would have been a raving lunatic with like a you know like they're closing up the theaters because there's fluoride in the water. Like he would have ended up being one of those guys. But yeah, it's like
he's kind of like he's kind of like a handsome guy. He pulls off the ascot pretty well.
Yeah, and he had a tragic death in his family. Or his family. His girlfriend was a woman named Dolly, who was like the most beautiful playmate of all time, and like literally in an act of like I don't want to say rebellion, but like protection. There was this creepy guy who kept harassing Dolly, and he told Hugh Hefner to ban him from the Playboy Mansion, and he like met with Dolly that day, shot her, then shot himself because that was all that mattered in his life.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so Peter Bogdanovich like hit this huge dark spot in his career, and he accidentally shit talked Orson Welles one time, and then Orson Welles just like dragged him on national TV, just being a huge asshole, because Orson was like a massive asshole, but I mean. Yeah, he's also his creative genius, and every like creative genius type is a huge piece of shit.
Maybe I'll just quickly add. I think but after then is his beau got killed? Didn't he marry her sister?
I don't know, actually. If he did that, then I rescind.
I think he might be on the list.
I'm
sorry to say it. I think he might be on the list.
So is the list literally just like Orson Welles and Akira Kurosawa, and like everyone else is a sex freak?
Everyone else is a weird pervert.
Yeah.
That's basically across the board.
Man.
I just
Fuck
assume.
this.
Yeah, I just pretty much at this point assume that everyone involved in producing television or movies is a weird sex pervert.
That's why I got out of movies to a much cleaner medium, podcasting. And away we go.
Now when I was a young boy, about the age of 5, my teachers taught me I could be the greatest man alive. They told me I could change the world, be whatever I wanted to be. There was no one in the world like me. Every one of us was so unique. I'd not be an average man. No sir, I'd be no average man.
Welcome back, everyone, to Eat the Rich. This is a show about our political economy, late-stage capitalism, and the millionaires, billionaires, and multinational corporations hell-bent on staving off its death rattle. I'm Dwight, and today we have with us Shane. Back with Mickey Mouse. We've got Chris.
Ahoy, ahoy.
And a wonderfully good friend of the show, and we are super happy to have him on here, Mr. Movies of the famous filmtwitter.com, who has a podcast, Mr. Movies Podcast. May we introduce friend of the show, Mr. Movies. Welcome.
You saying it that many times made me feel good.
Yeah,
How's that? Well, that's like part of marketing where you want to, repetitive exposure to the consumer, which is exactly what we're doing.
So it's part that, and the other part is making it so if anybody even comes close to referencing what your brand is, you drag them to court and force them to change it. And I am following in the footsteps of probably the most beloved company, probably the most American company of the beautiful year 2000. Disney Incorporated, I guess? Disney LLC? Disney!
Yeah, Disney.
Disney.
Is that how Wally says Disney?
Disney is, to me, like the most new millennium company that there is. You'd probably make some arguments for like Raytheon or like companies that like ruin people's lives that like actually matter.
Yeah. That's the dark arts that we typically traffic in.
Yeah. Have you guys heard about these guys? These billionaires?
It's new to us, but we're learning as we go.
So Disney, to me, what's crazy about them is they package their evil as being like not only intelligent but strangely cultured. It's this very weird technocratic company that literally has built itself up on this mantra of like, don't you want to be worldly like us? Well, boy, do we have the product for you. Disney, we talked about this off mic, but there are multiple facets to why Disney's bad. I have a big brain take why I think Disney is one of the most culturally destructive forces that has ever existed. But,
please, by all means.
Yeah, but I'm probably going to get into that at the end whenever I'm all wired up.
Damn, it's okay.
But I mean, beyond this, Disney has put their hand into things like academics and has literally made facets of keeping information harder and harder for people who want to make things public domain. Disney as a cultural power, if you're going to get like super, super big brain, which I'm not in this camp, but you could argue that they've completely infantilized a generation that wasn't allowed to buy houses. But that's kind of another phenomena. We could talk about Disney adults, but I have one pretty close to my family, so I'm gonna stay out.
I do too, man. I do too, actually.
Yeah,
I think about them a lot.
Yeah,
I have a cousin who has a Disney YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think now's a good time for me to mention. I mention it a lot on Twitter. I was born and raised in Florida. I've been here my entire life. Disney as a thing that Floridians identify with, unbelievably strong. It is a juggernaut. Anybody who has ever even lived in the Orlando area has spent some time in that jail, allegedly jail, where you're totally allowed to leave and are paid healthy wages. But man, I hate Disney so fucking much.
Yeah, man.
And there's
Hit us with
thousands of reasons, but I'm going to stop kind of hogging all the airtime. And I think that a really good way to go into this, to understand at least Disney, whenever we talk about Disney, we aren't also talking about their anti-Semitic origins, but we're talking about the modern day, the foam VHS tape era of Disney. You remember those? Those crinkly, horrible to the environment VHS cases?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the plastic ones?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, man.
That classic sound.
Yeah. Whenever you open it
Raised
up,
on.
it sounds like you're snapping the neck of a large animal.
Yeah.
I remember I used to chew on them
right.
and my mom would get mad because the tape wouldn't be able to fit in the hole anymore.
Oh, no.
It felt good.
I remember at one point in the 90s when McDonald's had some kind of Disney trivia thing going on. Do you remember that? I remember going back to all those old VHS tapes and watching them to get the answers to the trivia questions so I could get a free Happy Meal or whatever. I don't know.
How could you
Oh, that's
imagine that?
nice. You got to weaponize the children.
Yeah.
That's how you get the shareholder value.
That goes into that psychological trauma marketing that I kind of scared myself with. Have you guys seen the patent that Sony owns? Because getting a patent is apparently super easy if you're a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that is completely no, that's not a good word to say, has completely strangled market. So Sony has a patent on the. So what it would do is a TV would show you a commercial. It would show you the McDonald's French fries, right? Oh, look at how golden and crispy they are. And you could skip the commercial by standing up, putting both of your arms in the air and going, McDonald's, and then sitting back.
Are you
Dead
You're making
shitting
this
me?
up.
I am
You're
dead
making this
serious.
up.
Hang on.
But this wasn't real. This was just a proposed thing.
This
or
is a
something?
patented idea.
Hang on.
It's a great idea.
Patent Sony stand. Yeah. So if you search patent Sony, the first option is say McDonald's. So I'm just gonna hold it up to the camera. This is their patent.
Yeah.
Oh, they have to include the diagram with the patent.
Yeah, of
So
course.
they
Yeah,
include
yeah.
the diagram of the people standing up and saying, "Yay, McDonald's!"
Yeah, stand up,
Yeah.
say
So
McDonald's.
that they're then allowed to skip the commercial.
Yeah.
Wow, I'll be goddamned.
I can't. I'm not. I don't I'm having a panic attack. I think. I think I'm having a panic attack thinking about this. Please continue. I need a minute to breathe.
Let's kind of just to add fuel to the fire. I wanted to hold this in before we did the copyright stuff, but I really want to set the stage for how heartless Disney is as a company. My favorite example of Disney being heartless is I don't know if it ended up being a court case, but this was in 1996. Disney forced a daycare in Central Florida to remove murals of their famous cartoon characters from the insides of the walls. This is part of Snopes. This is before Snopes became an armed wing of the Democratic Party, who say fun things like, "Did Joe Biden fall down the stairs?" Mostly false. He technically fell up the stairs.
No.
But the Walt Disney Company discovered that 3 daycare centers in Hollandale, Florida, had a 5-foot-high likeness of trademark Disney characters such as Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Goofy painted on their walls, and Disney threatened to go to court if the centers did not
sue
remove
'em.
the drawings.
Sue their asses.
Fucking sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the
And,
daycare would paint that. I agree, Dwight. It's disgusting.
That's not their intellectual property.
It's not their idea. A cartoon rat. That takes a lot of genius to come up
He's
with.
a
Okay.
mouse. He's a mouse.
He's a mouse.
Oh, now we're
He's
gonna
a
get into
filthy
the-
rat.
He's a mouse that owns a dog and also has a best friend who's a sentient dog who, if he were to speak out against it, I imagine Disney would bring the legal hammer down on him too.
That is sick.
Gorge, whoa, why you got one of me in the house? Tied up via his neck to the floor. Oh man, but I don't know. I guess we should talk about who the. I really got to be careful because Disney likes to sue. Who the allegedly bastard Bob Iger is?
I'll call him a bastard. Go ahead, sue me. No. I'm currently painting Mickey Mouse in my apartment all over the walls. Like an incredibly normal person.
I'm selling pictures that I've drawn of Mickey Mouse. And I'm making 6 figures a year off of it.
And for any lawyer that's maybe listening, any sort of falsetto personification that you might have heard in the beginning of this episode was
is
just
it a direct impersonation of the character Mickey Mouse?
That we're actively making money off of. Yeah.
No, we were talking about castrato voices in opera.
We cut the mouse's balls off, and now
he's a rat. He's a goddamn rat.
He's a filthy rat.
If he is a rat, then I think we're in the clear. All right,
let's talk about Bob Iger, and nothing to do with rats.
Mr. Movie's trying to learn us something. All right, let's go ahead.
I actually prepared absolutely nothing for Bob Iger, other than the fact that I have a festering, spewing hatred for that cretin.
Oh, just trying to insulate yourself from any litigation fallout.
I'm just saying, if I had a
Whoa! Wow!
please cut that. No, please.
It's a good bleep. It's a good bleep.
We will not apologize for the terror. Chris, I think maybe you had some of the background. On
Okay. So let's get into what we're here to discuss ultimately, which is who is Bob Iger, who is the current executive chairman and chairman of the board and former CEO of the Walt Disney Company. So yeah, I looked into his background a little bit. Boring. I mean, ultimately boring. He was born in New York in 1951. He was raised in Oceanside in Nassau County by largely middle-class parents. He went to Ithaca College, and where he received a degree in television and radio. He had originally wanted to be like a news anchor, but in 1972, while he was still in school, he started hosting a local program called Campus Probe, which I guess was their student news program or whatever. He was then like a local weatherman in Ithaca for a few months, and then in 1974, he took a production job at ABC Studios, which is where he worked his way up over the years. He worked in the production at first predominantly of like daytime soap operas and game shows and stuff. Then he switched to in 1976 a job at ABC Sports. He was the senior program executive for the Calgary Winter Olympics in 1988, and the next year he was named head of entertainment at ABC. Then he was the president of the ABC Network Television Group from 93 to 94. Then that's when Disney bought out ABC's corporate parent, Capital Cities ABC, and they left Bob Iger in that position until 1999 when he became president of Walt Disney International. So I found this one article from the New York Times from 2019 by Maureen Dowd, where she interviewed Bob Iger. And he tells there's a little bit more like about his backstory in this article. And so, like, quoting from this, so it says, by 8th grade, he was working, this is about more like his childhood. By 8th grade, he was working as a stock boy in a hardware store. At 15, he toiled as a janitor for his school district. Cleaning gum from the bottoms of 1,000 desks can build character, or at least a tolerance for monotony, he writes. This is quoting like from his autobiography.
Very weird.
At Ethica, well, this is every millionaire or billionaire.
Yeah, they all like to pretend that they're rags to riches, even though you grew up in like a gated community. You probably went to like some fucking preparatory school that costs $19,000 a year.
Well, he has an uncle, or at least a great uncle, who was a famous cartoonist named Jerry Iger. So he at least has, even before he was born, he had at least had like some sort of monetary success in the family. But continuing on to the Maureen Dowd article here, at Ithaca College, he earned spending money making pizza every night at Pizza Hut. After he graduated, he became a weatherman in Ithaca and delivered a lot of bad news about the gloomy weather there. after that, he moved to New York City. He started at ABC. It says he made $150 a week for menial labor on game shows, soap operas, and newscasts. His friends say he was long underestimated and treated as a glorified errand boy, even when he worked under Michael Eisner at Disney. In The Ride of a Lifetime, which is the title of Mr. Iger's autobiography, he recounts when he started at ABC.
Just like the lamest shit.
Yeah.
In my autobiography called The World of Tomorrow.
So here's an interesting thing, and this is the whole reason I included this little segment from the New York Times article. It says, Mr. Iger recounts how when he started at ABC in 1974, the anchor Harry Reasoner sent him on an errand to check with the producers of the evening news to see if Mr. Reasoner needed to make any updates or if he could enjoy a second double extra dry beefeater martini on the rocks, blah, 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 whatever.
On the rocks?
Yeah.
This guy put beef on the rocks?
What a fucking rube.
But so this is the story about Bob Iger, like a young Bob Iger working as like a production aide or whatever in the 70s at ABC, and so he goes to talk to this news anchor's producer to see if there's like any updates they needed. So it says, so this is Bob Iger talking here. It says, I ventured into the control room and said, Harry sent me to find out how it looks. The producer looked at me with complete disdain. Then he unzipped his pants, pulled out his penis, and replied, I don't know. You tell me how it looks. 45 years later, this is Bob Iger talking. 45 years later, I still get angry when I recall that scene.
What the fuck?
Literally everyone in entertainment is a
exactly.
sex
No,
freak.
exactly. That's why, like much as we talked about like a few minutes ago, like this is just what I imagine. Like every movie and television studio ever is like. It's just like weird, gross old men pulling out their penises or like, "Hey, kid, look at this," or whatever.
Yeah.
And but I think it is interesting because this article was published in 2019, and as I'm sure we're going to discover later in the episode, Bob Iger was quite criticized, particularly around 2017 and 2018, for the way he handled another pervert producer.
Oh, yeah.
And which he definitely knew about. I'm talking about Harvey Weinstein, which he definitely knew about and kind of swept under the rug and kind of covered for him. So then it goes on to say, Mr. Iger simply kept moving, as he did after so many slights and wounds, including Mr. Eisner's disastrous decision to bring in the super agent Michael Ovitz as his number two, even once Mr. Ovitz was dispatched with a $140 million golden parachute for failing. It was an uphill battle for Mr. Iger to persuade the board that he should succeed Mr. Eisner. And what they're talking about here is Bob Iger, kind of the atmosphere and what was going on when he succeeded Michael Eisner as the president there of the Walt Disney Corporation. And what he's talking about specifically is this guy named Michael Ovitz, who was the president of the Walt Disney Company from 1995 until he was fired by Michael Eisner in 1997. And he left with a severance package of $38 million in cash and $100 million in stock.
Oh,
and
that's like liquid too. That's like real, like $100 million.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And he was actually he was sued, and Michael Eisner was also sued by some of the Disney shareholders for like letting him walk away with this severance package. And this is a bit of a side note, but I did want to get into this because I found this very interesting. So this guy, Michael Ovitz, he then goes on to start this new company called AMG Artist Management Group, which just like totally tanks in like a couple of years. And I did want to read a little bit of this. I know this is off topic, but this is this Michael Ovitz guy. This is to color a little bit of the story here about how Bob Iger ended up taking over Walt Disney, because he was pretty associated with this Michael Ovitz guy, who was the one that left with this large severance package. And so there's this Vanity Fair article. There's an interview with this Michael Ovitz guy from 2002, and I just wanted to read just a few sentences of this, or a few paragraphs of this. This is so reading from Vanity Fair. It says, the man sitting across the conference table is on the verge of tears. A mist has fallen across his eyes. He begins to sniffle. He is a roiling mass of emotions. anger, self-pity, contrition, regret. He has been through so much. He never thought it would end up like this. He has been a Hollywood icon for 20 years. In the 1980s, newspapers routinely described him as the most powerful man in Hollywood, a title he embraced with relish. For years, he has been the most hated man in Hollywood, the subject of vicious rumors and one scathing profile after another. Michael Ovitz is ruined, and it's killing him. It's not the money, although he's lost a fortune on his investments in artist management groups. It's about the money.
Yeah.
The crippled,
he lost all his money.
the crippled multimedia company that was to have been his return to power. He acknowledges his pre-tax losses are about $100 million, although some put them closer to $200 million. Whatever the exact figure, it may be the largest loss by an individual or a single project in Hollywood history.
Get owned, dork.
Ovitz can live with that, with a net worth estimated in the hundreds of millions.
Fuck that.
He probably won't be filing for bankruptcy anytime soon. What's killing him is the shame, the embarrassment, the vilification, the press attacks, especially those he believed from the New York Times. He's considering sending his youngest son off to military school in the Midwest just to get him out of LA.
Just to branch out into a new industry of another industry you could, fund hundreds of millions of dollars into.
There's only one way I could wash myself of this shame. Son, it's time to go to war.
Son, it's time to
This is in
invade
2002.
Iran.
Yeah, it's time to go to Iraq, son.
It's in 2002. Oh man, I thought that he was putting boots on the ground for Iran. Come on, guys, we all want to invade.
And then it says he and his wife Judy are talking of leaving as well. And now he's sitting here in a hotel conference room I've rented because he no longer has an office with his hundreds of millions of dollars, I suppose, pouring out his heart to a reporter he barely knows. He doesn't want to do it, he says again and again. His whole family has begged him not to, but he wants to set the record straight, and he wants people to understand why he did what he did. And this is quoting from this guy, Michael Ovitz himself. I didn't kill anybody. I'm not a murderer. I didn't set off a bomb at a shopping center. I didn't take off in a white Bronco. I'm an entrepreneur. The money I lost was mine, my money, my gamble, my mistake, and still they hate me, everyone. A minute later, he shakes his head and stares. I know how hard it is for people to see me as a victim. But in this case, it's pretty close to the truth. The really odd thing is then for the rest of the article, he goes on to describe the downfall of this company of his called AMG Artist Management Group and what he blames for it. And he claims that there was this sort of shadowy plot like in Hollywood, like this Hollywood cabal is even like the line, like the term that he uses to take him and his company down. And he says it was orchestrated by David Geffen and Michael Eisner, who he refers to in the interview multiple times as the gay mafia.
What?
Exactly. And so this is the guy. So like I included this because this is the guy that Bob Iger took control after, and this was like an associate of his. And so like I'm going back to the New York Times article, the interview with Bob Iger himself. I'm quoting from him now. He says part of it was the association with him, referring to Michael Ovitz. I was just tarred by the same brush, Mr. Iger says. And part of it was that, at least to the board, talk about having to subjugate my own ego. It was his company, and I was like a second-class citizen. And this is Maureen Dowd speaking, I remind Mr. Iger that I covered the 1997 Disney shareholder meeting where Mr. Ovitz got his obscene severance package and noted in the column that, among other failings, Mr. Eisner's socks were too short. Michael did not care about clothes. Michael did not care about clothes, Mr. Iger says with a smile. He had good taste in other things, but not clothes or food or wine.
What did he mean by that? He wasn't entertainment.
It wasn't entertainment, I suppose. So this is the context in which Bob Iger takes over the company, and this guy Michael Ovitz that he was associated with. What was I going to say? Let's see here. Mike. This is back referring to the New York Times article. In his book, Mr. Iger tells the story of meeting Jeffrey Katzenberg for breakfast near the Disney lot in Burbank, California. Jeffrey Katzenberg is the guy who, I believe, succeeded Michael Ovitz in taking over that the management of that company that he was a part of after Disney. And Mr. Katzenberg told him, "You need to leave. You're not going to get this job. Your reputation has been tarnished," to Bob Iger. He was, Mr. Katzenberg said, too tied to Eisner messes, including a titanic battle with Roy E. Disney, Walt's nephew. "You should go do some pro bono work to rehabilitate your image." Yeah, so this is, the backstory to Bob Iger and his takeover of Disney. Mostly boring, really, other than his association with this guy, this guy Mike Lovitz.
Yeah, but the Bob Iger connection, the reason why I hate this man so much is, I know that there's a lot of debate as to like the merits of breaking up a monopoly. A lot of people think that breaking up monopoly is just kind of preserving the integrity of like a market economy. But I disagree with that. I still think it's good to break up companies that completely hold up an industry, right?
Oh yeah.
Bob Iger, he is like the start of Disney going from being like a very successful entertainment company to being a cultural hegemon. So as we all know that Bob Iger, as he like gets up into the as like this he was CEO of ABC, right? President, something like that. And
he was the president, yeah.
In 1996, Disney completely takes over ABC. They end up buying them out. They pay $19 billion. And along with this, they get the ABC network. They have a majority stake in ESPN. If you guys have ever been to Disney World, there's an ESPN Sports Center area where they like film Sports Center for a couple weeks.
How long has that been there? Because I have been to Disney World.
Like 1998 or something like that.
Oh, really?
It's been there forever.
I never went to that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just like a stage. I know that Mike and Mike went there one time and they wore like a Hawaiian shirt, and it was like, damn, you, wow, that looks like Florida. They end up getting a joint stake in a thing called Lifetime Entertainment Services and a minority stake in A&E Television Services, and it's just things upon things. And after this, we start seeing the acquisitions start to pour in, because before this, Disney acquired a company. They acquired, or they bought out, Western Publishing, in 1957. Then their next major acquisition was in 1965. Then their next one was in 1982. Now, are you guys ready for me to go sicko mode on this?
Please.
Yeah,
always,
hit it, man.
Disney in
Always,
1998
Mr.
and
Movies.
1999 purchase two companies, respectively, in each year called Starwave and InfoSeek, each selling for $400 million and $1.77 million to create their own internet search engine called Go.com. After this, 2 years later, just 2 years. Remember, like before this, it was once a decade they would make some sort of acquisition. 2 years later, they purchased Fox Family worldwide. Then 3 years after that, they purchased The Muppets. 2 years after that, they purchased Pixar as a whoopsie daisy, because in 2004, they created an animation studio called Circle 7 that made Pixar incredibly angry. So now Pixar is under there. 3 years after...
That was sorry, just to quickly interrupt, I think that was Iger's first big acquisition as CEO,
yes,
right?
It was
too?
$7.4 billion.
Yes, yeah.
And then we have the big one, which is Marvel, which I'm going to be, trust me, I'm going big brain mode on Marvel. He buys that for $4 billion. And Disney, at this point, since they've acquired, after Marvel and Star Wars, literally 33% of all movie income in 2019 went to Disney.
That's insane.
How insane is that? But don't worry, they purchased the other movie studio that brought in 5%. So they're slowly approaching half. After this, they famously, 3 years after the Marvel acquisition, famously purchase out Lucasfilm for $4 billion. We all know Lucasfilm. Star Wars, the thing that the most insufferable dorks on the internet like to bring up every single day.
Wouldn't
Can
be
we
us.
please also here cut in the sad interview that Lucas did with Charlie Rose, where he calls Disney the white slavers?
These are my kids. So
all those Star Wars films.
All the Star Wars films.
They were your kids.
Yeah, well, they are my. I loved them. I created them. I'm very intimately involved in them, and obviously to
and
sell
you
them
sold
off.
them.
I sold them to the white slavers that take these things and.
Okay, but
Yeah.
Oh my! Are you fucking serious?
He calls them months later.
Of course, after he got after the check cleared, it was easy to call him that. It's such a great.
That's
just please,
not
if we can cut it in here.
George Lucas very famously.
I felt my inner monologue was R2D2 going like.
a similar sound
put
effect.
that in?
A similar sound effect too that we could put in at the end of that episode has become something of a fun in joke in this household, at least. At the very end of that interview, Charlie Rose says, "Thank you for doing this," and George Lucas goes, "Huh."
He like meows.
Yes, it's so weird.
We can cut that in here.
Than most of the stuff we've done up to this point.
Thank you for doing this.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Movie.
Oh, that's
Dude,
so
you're
good.
totally
That's
fine.
the same interview.
I love that
Did you
interview.
like I sent you guys a picture in the Discord earlier. Of Bob Iger and George Lucas sitting together, like in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, and
George Lucas not even knowing where he is.
yeah, no, exactly.
He's my hero. He's the
Bob
best.
Iger grinning ear to ear because he just acquired this fucking the intellectual property of this huge moneymaker, and then like George Lucas sitting there looking like just a weirdo in his like I think he's wearing like white New Balance shoes and just this like very just strange confused look on his face.
As people get richer, they tend to look better. You know what I'm saying? Like this happens with like actors and people in media that get like as they get older and they get richer.
Musk fixed his hairline. Remember that?
Yeah, shit like that.
Like Elon Musk had my hairline when he did PayPal.
He got some work done to say the least.
No, he
But,
was
they
bald,
get trainers,
bald,
yeah.
they get chefs. George Lucas is seemingly immune to that principle because he just has looked bad most of his
Which
life.
you sort of gotta respect. I mean, I look bad and I'm not even rich.
He's
very
becoming more
handsome.
and more like one of his creations.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. He also like with that purchase of Lucasfilm, I'm pretty sure they managed to recoup the $4 billion in like 5 years. I'm like pretty sure it was
right.
that
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, I've thought about that before. Because it seems like such a big number, right? $4 billion to buy it. But once you have those rights, I mean, each one of those movies, the box office is like over $1 billion now. I mean, that's just the standard for those like giant franchise films. So you do a couple of those, then plus the merchandising rights, video games. Every other conceivable fucking knick-knack that has a Star Wars thing related to it, you could easily get that in a few years. Which
Do you remember when The Force Awakens was coming out and they were marketing on literally everything? Because one of my favorite things to buy are those little tiny oranges, the ones that peel real easy. They're called halos.
Like little clementines.
Oh man,
I hate cross marketing.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that with that much emphasis.
so sorry.
It's fucking disgusting. Like when you said like, hey, Frosted Mini Wheats is partnering with fucking Wally or
Yeah,
whatever.
There is
I fucking hate cross marketing. It's so fucking stupid.
There's like a Baby Yoda. There's a Baby Yoda cereal. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
right
Oh,
now.
I have a Baby Yoda bit we're gonna get to towards the end.
yeah.
That is specifically for you, Chris.
Awesome.
But we'll get
yeah,
there. We'll get
I
there.
like got my halos and there's a BB-8 on it.
Wait. Was it printed on the package or on the orange?
you know. Yeah, you can stack your 2 oranges. There you go, a biodegradable BB-8. Be sure to take a picture of this and caption it with "Make your own Star Wars adventure."
I can hear. It's just because I can hear the conversation happen in the conference room. When there's like, all right, well, you're presenting here. Who are we gonna do the Toy Story cross marketing with? And like, well, we've had some very exciting conversations with Hewlett Packard. It's like, fuck off! What? That's all it is. It's these weird cross contamination of industries that happen to have. It has never made sense.
I hate it so much.
This is a tangent, and I don't want to go too far into it, but just because I can see the rage building in you, Dwight. I found out about this
I'm
recently.
displacing a lot. I'm up and holding on. This is
We're
very
gonna
few years
spray
ago.
paint Millennium Falcon on the side of the Lolita Express.
When I was asking you, Mr. Movies,
I made the
if
trip
they
to Little
printed-
St. James Island in 1 parsec.
punch it. But when I was asking you if they printed BB-8's likeness or whatever onto the oranges, I wasn't just being totally facetious. I was genuinely curious because I found out recently, a few years ago, CBS did a cross-marketing thing with like eggs, where they printed their slogans onto literal eggs. But they were all like funny and catchy.
Are you shitting me?
Like, no. So here, let me. I'll send this. But like, you can look at some of these. And it's CBS Mondays. Leave the yolks to us.
Oh no, CSI crack the case.
Crack the case. Yeah. Shelling out laughs.
They put an expiration date on the physical egg.
I'm so mad.
How I Met Your Mother. Find your chick on CBS.
Hey, the expiration date's my birthday.
Hell yeah.
Funny side up. Anyway, sorry, this is a total tangent, but okay, so yeah, because I remember that too. They marketed like I remember going to the grocery store and seeing like on like fucking packages of celery, like C-3PO and shit. And being like, what is this?
It's wild how much they insist on it being the culture of the U.S. And good God, that's like literally what I want to close out on is America becoming literally like we've just dropped the facade. We're just a culture of consumption now. But like moving on from this Lucasfilms acquisition, Disney purchases Maker Studio. Sorry, my cat's going to be screaming in the background.
That was a cat?
Yeah, he screams.
I thought that was a child.
No, I'll put him on cam if he jumps up here. They purchase.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
He just like yells. Every now and then he'll just be in the bathroom just yelling because the reverberations feel good on his stupid skull. So after this, they purchase a company called BAM Tech for $2.58 billion. So Lucasfilm is purchased 3 years after Marvel. Maker Studios is 2 years after Lucasfilm. 3 years after that, BAM Tech for $2.58 billion. And then 2 years after that, the big one, 21st Century Fox Studios for $71.3 billion.
Now, surely that had to like go through the DOJ.
It did.
The Department
of
Justice.
Yes, it did. So it actually, if I remember right, it went to the Supreme Court and they found no sort of monopolizing behavior from this, which
Fuck you.
stems into the thing that I like literally harass a legal podcast about this pretty often for them to do an antitrust episode. But like, there's been like one antitrust decision that like broke up something, and it was the Bells, which now have reformed and are actually bigger than they were when they were broken up.
That was literally like 100 years ago also, right?
Yeah, this century ago in 1983.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, it was
Which flash forward to 2019 where they have
more than rebuilt.
38% market share in movies and shit. Like, what else do you want?
Yeah, so Disney, the issue that comes with them purchasing 21st Century Fox is, a lot of people are speculating like, oh, what they're doing is this is for the next stage of Marvel because 21st Century Fox owns the distribution rights to the Mutant series of X-Men. And while sure, that was probably thrown onto the pile, the big thing is the fact that they were launching Disney Plus, and 21st Century Fox was one of, if it wasn't the majority shareholder, it was one of the major shareholders of Hulu, which Disney acquired all of theirs. Now Disney owns something like 40% of Hulu. So Disney owns two different streaming companies. They are literally monopolizing right in front of us, which I know what you guys are thinking now, right? This sounds a lot like the Paramount decision, doesn't it? Where a company that produces the movies cannot also be the person who showcases and, distributes them like crazy. And the Supreme Court has shrugged their shoulders and said, nah, everything looks legal to me. And the reasoning behind it is there are so many apps to stream on now. You've got your Netflix, You've got the one my grandson talks about. You got your Tic Tac. You got your, you know what I mean? And it's just, it's like horrifically out of touch, but it's like, the Supreme Court right now is ruling like 6-3 conservative. You know, like this is going to go on for like the next 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But the thing I'm wondering about is like Disney right now, they're acquiring all this media stuff. And it's like, oh, Disney's going to bring us the high budget stuff. But it's when Disney purchases an internet service provider, when Disney buys Comcast, that's going to be when everything shakes us, right? Because I think that their next big acquisition is going to be Warner Brothers. Because they want it.
Probably, yeah.
Because wouldn't it be so epic if we did Marvel versus DC? It'll be like when I was an 8-year-old again, right? Because I'm 38 years old and I wear Captain America shirts to my professional IT job. But like...
I don't know what any of that means, but I don't like the monopoly part.
Yeah, but this is the concern, right? It's this mass consolidation, and like the reason why I hate Disney so fucking much, besides like their copyright stuff, is they are setting legal precedents for monopolies to form and be bigger than they were in the air quotes golden age of America, right? This is like Disney's going to become like the new Henry Clay Frick. They're going to become the new Vanderbilt. They're going to become the new Rockefeller. They're like
Standard Films.
Yes.
Or Standard Entertainment.
Yeah, it's this. And what sucks about this is, man, I'm just going to go into my Marvel spiel now. Marvel to me is like,
by all means,
there are different pieces of media that I know that other podcasts and stuff talk about this all the time, and they love their hot takes. But I really do think that like the most emblematic piece of media that came out of the Obama era was Marvel. I think that Marvel to me is like it's technocratic solutions to a world where there's a very clear good guy and a very clear bad guy. And we're the
good guy.
Yeah,
Obama.
We're the good guy.
Obviously,
yeah, Obama. Yeah. And the bad guy is a Yemeni child at a wedding. But the issue with this is Disney has allowed all these channels in for the Department of Defense to go into their movies and pay tens, hundreds of millions of dollars to air quotes ensure that the Department of Defense is being depicted fairly and accurately. These are things that happen. And the issue with
that is sick.
Yeah, and the issue with this is it's also Disney did this thing where they commodified wokeness into like a product that you could tangibly sell somebody. And like, but there's always an addendum on the side. There's always like the one that I think of the most is like Black Panther, which was like on the surface a celebration of Africa, right? It was like a look into a culture that we never see in film. We literally never see it. The only exposure people have of like Africa in their minds in movies is like, oh, Hotel Rwanda. You know, like that's all they can think about. But like with Black Panther, the second most important character in the movie is a CIA agent. You know, all these things are like, they will commodify something like, look, here's your big cultural product. Don't you love it? Brought to you by the Central Intelligence Agency, right? And it's the Disney purchasing all these different like pieces of media is making it harder and harder for us to separate the reality of the Department of Defense from entertainment. We are seeing more and more of these like now fucking on CBS. There's a story about a guy who is now living with his translator from Afghanistan. Did you guys see that?
Yeah. Oh God. Yes, I saw that.
That's
what is this?
Despicable.
What's it called? What's it called?
I don't remember what it's called, but if you look up like CBS translator comedy,
unbelievable.
But what's crazy is like that's like fundamentally untrue. They blackballed all the translators for them in Afghanistan the second they got bored.
If I can jump in here, Mr. Movies, in terms of speaking about like the relationship that Marvel, I mean Hollywood in general, but specifically the Marvel films and superhero films more broadly have in terms of a relationship to like the military industrial complex, right? Like, because there's the level of like just like content, which is like, okay, there are maybe these messages or characters in the films who are representative of these agencies. I mean, the obvious one is like Iron Man. He's like an arms manufacturer, right? Yeah. And he's ultimately like a good guy. But I remember too, you know, like you were saying, there are these insidious like back channel things that happen, and occasionally they come to the surface. And in 2017, very briefly, Marvel announced that they were going to do an official partnership with Northrop Grumman.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. There was that comic book that we saw that one time too.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Our good buddy showed us. Yeah.
And so, and then immediately it received such like a backlash that they kind of walked back from it, and they were like, okay, we're not gonna maybe do this as much as we were going to. But all of the copy and the kind of press release stuff that they had associated with it was always like in the guise of like, you watch the heroes in the films, but this is what the real heroes are doing, and it would be like a split panel with, heroes, from the Marvel films, and then like people in an office,
right,
ordering drone strikes in Central Asia, right?
What's crazy is like that they will sometimes like it sucks that Captain Marvel ended up getting like the treatment of like the like men's rights activist types, because like Captain Marvel is like a heinous product. It's an ad for the Air Force. Like it like literally is. I just watched King Kong or Godzilla versus Kong last night. Sorry, we're going to have to do spoilers. I'm assuming this episode's coming out.
Whoa, hold on a second. I have not watched King Kong versus Godzilla,
there
so
is
do not
a
spoil anything.
Very, very blatant U.S. Department of Defense endorsement in the movie. We'll talk about it whenever you guys have actually seen it.
I mean, also,
is that the Snyder cut?
Godzilla is like fucking 100 times as tall as King Kong. I mean,
we're not getting into the nuances.
The movie is like
can I spoil
it's a 2-minute movie.
Can I spoil a very minor thing?
No,
very minor.
No.
Oh, not even that.
No, bleep all of this. Here, now you can talk. I've taken off my headphones.
I have a long tradition of spoiling things for Shane specifically.
All right, good. All right, so hang on. King Kong reseats his dislocated shoulder on a skyscraper in Hong Kong, and it's the coolest shit I've ever seen. All right, Shane, you're good. You're good.
I just want to say
we have to cut that, right?
For the listener, Shane is seated with his headphones off and with his arms crossed across his chest.
Now, I'm not a movie guy, but my understanding is that
end of statement.
Everyone's
let's move on.
The Snyder cut has to do with a new method of circumcision or something like that.
Yeah, they add an extra inch to your foreskin, from what I heard, to your horrifically mangled penis.
It's called the sucker punch. Maybe I mean in the discussion of like this constant IP acquisition, maybe this would be a good time to talk about like how Disney, particularly under historically it's always done it, but particularly under the leadership of Bob Iger, has aggressively pursued its intellectual property and control over that. And so, Mr. Movies, you brought up that really the kind of classic example, which is the daycare thing.
Yes.
Right. Like and them like suing daycare for putting fucking Mickey Mouse or whatever.
How dare you show these poor-os our beloved Mickey Mouse?
Maybe I don't know if it's worth getting into it. I in looking at some of their more recent and again the ones under Iger's leadership. These kind of aggressive IP moves that they've made, it might be worth kind of talking about like copyright law in general. I have like a very overview understanding of how it works, and specifically with Disney, but I do know there's that it's the Copyright Term Extension Act that came in
1978. Yeah, the
first
Sonny
one,
Bono
the first
Act,
one.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
The Sonny Bono Act?
That's right.
Is that what it's called?
The conservative politician?
This is so it's also known as the Sonny Bono Copyright Term Extension Act, the Sonny Bono Act, or derisively the Mickey Mouse Protection Act.
All right.
Do you want to maybe explain how that works? I know because you were talking about like archivists and stuff. Yeah.
On the Patreon of the Mr. Movies podcast, I actually went into a whole bunch of different copyright laws, the major court cases that kind of got us to where we're at. I want to go on the record as saying that if you think you can own an idea, you can suck my dick. You should be able to make whatever you want, do whatever you want with anybody's idea. If you can't hold it, you can't own it. I'm sorry. Like it's an idea. Like because the same type of shit ends up getting applied to medical stuff, and then people die in poverty because they can't have the brand new insulin that synergizes well in you or whatever. Like I hate this shit so fucking much. But over the course of the United States, we've had different extensions to copyright laws, where there'd be like one where it was like you used to be able to like put it out and you'd have it for like 7 years. And then anybody could have it. It became part of what is called the public domain. And so the public domain means there are no rules. Like you could go buck wild. If something's in the public domain, you can literally just sell it. You can just take it from the public domain and just go, this is my version. Sherlock Holmes famously became part of the public domain a couple years ago, which is why you guys saw that huge upcropping of Sherlock Holmes stories all of a sudden. There were like 5 TV shows that came out the same exact year.
Yeah.
You know, there's like that BBC version, which was kind of like the last hurrah of it being gilded, if you could even call it that. It's not good. But these copyright laws have changed more and more over time. And basically, like, different companies have exploited it different ways to increase the time allotted for the act, or for your product, your idea to be owned by the publisher. In the Copyright Act of 1976, the work would last the life of the author. Doesn't matter if you were a child and you got your stuff copyrighted when they were 3 years old. It is the life of the author plus 75 years of corporate authorship, meaning that there are stories that were probably written in 1910 that won't be put out until like 2070. That like very well could work out like that. And the issue with this is the fact that like the one that I like care about the most, I guess. I have a degree in history from a beloved university here in Florida, and as
Ave Maria,
yeah, as I the more that I would talk to archivists, because I really wanted to be a curator, the more they hate copyright acts. It's to a point that archivists, you will almost always hear them talk about how they wish these don't exist, because in these archives they have to hold on to the shit that they get a hold of, and they cannot release it to the world no matter how bad they want to release it. These archives are overflowing with different newspapers, because the person who wrote the article in the newspaper, if that is copyrighted because the newspaper has an agreement, it goes their whole life plus 75 years. It's insane. And what's crazy is Mickey Mouse famously was created, but with the invention of Steamboat Willie in 1928. I think it was Steamboat Willie that technically counts as it.
Yeah. By the way, a horribly racist cartoon. The original Disney product.
Disney stopped being racist, like... So but they
never.
But even Mickey Mouse, even Mickey Mouse, literally just a rip off of an earlier character called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Yes, and Disney even sells those ears too, which is even more insult to injury. But what happened was, because it was in 1928, and when Walt Disney died, he died like strangely early in like the. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Mickey Mouse technically is in like the public domain, like technically, but nobody wants to do it because they know that the second that anybody tries some Mickey Mouse shit, Disney's going to come up with a new law to tack onto copyright where it's going to be like, oh, and after that, there's a 20-year distributor, addendum to this where, sorry, 20 years, and Disney's going to keep extending this shit out. And good thing we have a Supreme Court that's ruling 6-3 conservative for the rest of our lives.
I'm a bit hung up, I'm sorry, at thinking about Walt Disney dying and thinking
Smiling.
about like...
It's pretty funny, right?
No, thinking about like Lieutenant Aldo Rain being like, I bet when you get up to the pearly gates, you'll be taking off those sweet mouse ears, won't you? That I can't abide by.
Yeah, I mean, if it's appropriate now, I have a couple of great examples of that now. This like the intense, insane weaponization of their intellectual property and the way that they've used it.
Please.
And so the first one, I think that makes sense, and this kind of goes in line with the example you brought up earlier, Mr. Movies. But this one is one from last year. This is from Variety, 2020. The title of this article by Clarita Rico is Bob Iger apologizes after Disney fines school for playing The Lion King.
Fines.
Fuck! So reading from the article.
God damn it, man.
Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger apologized on Thursday after an elementary school in Berkeley, California was fined by the corporation for showing The Lion King during a movie night fundraiser.
Oh, all they did was show the movie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I thought they like put on a play or something.
Literally, that's all they did.
It's because they
damn it.
charged money for it. Because it was probably going to childhood cancer research or something.
It has some social media posts and stuff here. And then just going down in the article, in an email obtained by CNN from Movie Licensing USA, a movie shown outside of the home is considered illegal, and anyone showing it in public needs legal permission. Anytime movies are shown without the proper license, copyright law is violated, and the entity showing the movie can be fined by the studios, read the statement. If a movie is shown for any entertainment reason, even in the classroom, it is required by law that the school obtains a public performance license. One of the PTA presidents, David Rose, told CNN that another parent bought the movie at a Best Buy and had no idea that they were breaking any rules when they screened the animated film. It's unclear as to how the company found out the school was playing the movie, except that they, quote, received an alert that The Lion King was shown at the Parents' Night Out fundraiser.
Snitch.
End quote.
Snitch.
So I believe, again, in this case, it was a small fine, relatively. It was like $250. But still, the absurdity of going after that. Like, why?
It's setting legal precedent.
Do that?
Yeah, even like
exactly.
Yeah.
Just like the public image of that is bad,
right?
And certainly they knew it would be bad.
But what are you gonna do? Who else are you gonna go see the movie? Like, oh, are you a Warner Brothers family now? Of course you aren't. You've got like 2 3-year-olds. This is your one fucking night out for like the first like in like 4 months. You've been like chained up in your house. Your kids have been driving you insane. They're like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if you got to spend 1 hour with the person you decided to marry, and they can't even have that because Disney's that fucking evil.
That's right. And I would like to mention too, in collating this research, Carrie helped me out quite a bit, and she was talking to me, and I'll just briefly talk about it, like on a variety of different like open platform like shopping places, stuff like Etsy and stuff. There is a whole community of people because Disney is such a massive cultural phenomenon. There are people who make stuff that has Disney shit as a part of it, with the intent of just like, I'm a fan. I like the Disney stuff, I'm into it. And nonetheless, they get hit with these insane copyright law infringement cases, and a big contentious one that's been going on for decades is like the Disney ears, like the Mickey Mouse ears, because people will make different iterations of the Mickey Mouse ears to wear
the little balls that you put on top of your antenna on your car.
Yeah,
exactly. And so every time you do one of those, unless you're buying the Disney licensed one, they'll sue you. If they find out about it, they will sue you. And so here's another recent one from last year, and again, I got this one mostly for Chris.
Please give it to me.
So this is from Yahoo Finance, from January 2020 by Georgia Slater. The title of this article: Disney is reportedly shutting down Etsy vendors who are selling unofficial Baby Yoda toys.
Oh no.
So reading from the article.
Fuck them, man. Fuck Baby Yoda. Shut them down.
The force is no longer with Etsy vendors trying to sell their versions of
Jesus
Baby Yoda
Christ.
merchandise.
That leading sentence is a crime.
According to a recent report in The Verge, Disney has begun issuing takedown notices for items related to The Mandalorian's breakout character, since the company has trademark jurisdiction over terms like Star Wars, The Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, and Yoda. Many independent vendors who use these keywords have had their listings deleted following complaints from Disney for using their intellectual property, the outlet reported. Disney did not immediately respond to people's requests for comment. Since Baby Yoda went viral last year, the demand and sales for related merchandise has been strong. One seller had, quote, over 2,000 views and 300 favorites, and another used to get at least 100 to 200 views a day, according to The Verge. In an effort to keep selling their items, some vendors have begun listing their products under different names, like the Baby Child or Baby Alien, or switching to less specific descriptions. While these posts haven't been removed over
Baby
copyrights, The sellers admitted that the listings do not receive as much traffic as they once did.
It's just, I'm imagining like the gif of like Baby Yoda like sipping the tea or whatever as like a single mother that makes like Baby Yoda plush dolls gets like arrested.
This is why I thought this would particularly tickle you. Continuing, for fans looking to bring Baby Yoda home, the wait for official merchandise is almost over. Disney will be releasing a series of the Mandalorian figurines in spring 2020, which are available for pre-order now on shopdisney.com. Blah, blah, blah. Funko Pop also has 2 vital bobblehead figures.
I knew that's where it was going, bro.
In different sizes.
The crazed look in Chris's eyes. It's like...
I knew it was going. I got so happy when I knew that's what it was.
The short story here is that the Baby Yoda character, right? Like, usually, like, okay, so, Mr. Movies, you were talking about, like, when The Force Awakens came out. And I remember, like, if you went to, like, a fucking Target or, like, a Walmart, way before the movie came out, they would have all the characters. You could buy shit. You know, you could buy shirts with Kylo Ren. And it's like... And I remember even thinking, like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, why would you preemptively buy, like, what if this character sucks? What if he's a Nazi, which he ended up being? But, like, why would you want that as a t-shirt until you've seen the movie? But that's part of the merchandise rollout, right? Like, you do it ahead of time. With this particular character of Baby Yoda, they calculatedly were like, we don't want to create merchandise for this character before they show up, because they wanted it to be like a surprise. So when the character did show up in the TV show, there was no merchandise for it. And so that's where these people came in to then like fill the gaps, you know, making little like plush toys or whatever, because it became a meme. Anyway, they clamped down on that. And there's a ton more of egregious and weird examples, but the last bit here that I would like to go to, give me 1 second.
I'm reminded of, did you ever see that movie Fanboys? And there's a scene at the end where Seth Rogen, it's like at a Star Wars convention or something. It's like before Phantom Menace came out, and he's got like this back tattoo of like Jar Jar Binks and Anakin.
Oh no.
And he's like, yeah, it's the new character, Jar Jar Binks, man. It's going to be badass, right? And the film hasn't been released yet, obviously, yeah.
I'm imagining the Jar Jar Binks that Peener Sweden made. The one with like, the huge penis.
So in terms of thinking about, like, again, you know, here is Disney, and specifically this period that we're talking about, under the leadership of Bob Iger, like, aggressively pursuing these kinds of copyright claims, right? To almost levels of absurdity, almost levels of like, wouldn't this be detrimental to your public image? Like we've said, like, wouldn't this hurt your fan base? It like discourages people.
Suing children, bad.
Right. It does not, it isn't that corrupt.
Imagine like a 6-year-old child in a suit standing in front of like Chief Justice. Supreme Court.
I like Jaja.
Your Honor, am I
guilty?
In my defense, when I said I want to grow up to be a Jedi, I did not mean to infringe on beloved copyrights.
Listen, Your Honor. When my client picked up a crayon and made 2 concentric circles in the way that happened to allegedly infringe on a copyright from 1939, how could he have known that it was going to poke and stab at the beast of the Disney Corporation?
Your Honor, my client's drawing of a 4-armed obese alien who runs a 1950s Americana cafe only coincidentally reflects the image of this so-called Dexter Jetster. But the point that I want to get to here, right, and beyond just like the obvious silliness and absurdity of it, right, is like thinking really in terms of like the broader political economy and like how, you know, like why this is dangerous and why, as Mr. Movies, you said a number of times, like this sets a precedent, right? Like what is this in reference to?
Dangerous one too,
right? And it's not like incidental. It's not like these copyright laws just like happen to change, right? It's because Disney has poured just millions of dollars into lobbying in Washington in order to affect those changes, right? In order to make those things happen. And to that point, again, to wrap up our talk a bit on, again, Iger's tenure at Disney, I want to read this piece from Ars Technica by Joe Mullen from 2016. And the title gives it away, but Disney CEO asks employees to chip in to pay copyright lobbyists.
Chip in.
Fuck you.
Come on.
Fuck you.
So I'm going to read very selectively here.
Sorry,
I'm going to read very selectively.
Did you spend too much of the bank? Was $71.3 billion for an acquisition of the X-Men too much for you guys? Get fucked.
So, all right, listen to this. The Walt Disney Company has a reputation for lobbying hard on copyright issues. The 1998 copyright extension has even been dubbed the Mickey Mouse Protection Act by activists like Lawrence Lessig that have worked to reform copyright laws. That's what we were talking about. This year, the company is turning to its employees to fund some of that battle. Disney CEO Bob Iger has sent a letter to the company's employees asking them to open their hearts and their wallets to the company's political action committee, Disney PAC. In the letter, which was provided to ours by a Disney employee, Iger tells workers about his company's recent intellectual property victories, including stronger IP protections in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a Supreme Court victory that destroyed Aereo, and continued vigilance about the state of copyright law in the digital environment. It also mentions that Disney is seeking an opening to lower the corporate tax rate. Blah, blah, blah. And then here's a little quote that they have from the anonymous source who leaked the letter. It just seems insensitive to folks that support the company but don't necessarily support all of its priorities, the source said, especially for something like TPP, which I view as particularly controversial. We do have a company position, but there's going to be a wide variety of opinion within the company. The letter concludes with a suggested donation to Disney PAC. And so I think the entirety of the letter here is included in this article. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's quite long, but I do want to read a selection of it. And again, this is Bob Iger's letter. Presumably he didn't write it himself. He had his staff or whatever work on it, but he signed off on it. This is bearing his name specifically, and this was sent out to the staff that worked at Disney. So, quote, as we head into the election year of 2016, the electorate faces significant decisions about the direction of our nation's future. Besides choosing a new president, we will once again be electing new senators and representatives. These decisions will have a profound impact on the lives of all Americans. The election will also impact issues that affect our country, that affect our company. As such, we will continue to work with our representatives in Congress to ensure that they understand our perspective on critical issues like trade, intellectual property tax, and travel policies. I write to urge you to consider supporting the company's efforts through a contribution to Disney PAC. A well-funded Disney PAC is an important tool in our efforts to maintain our positive profile in Washington. In the past year, we successfully advocated the company's position on a number of issues that have a significant impact on our business. We played a major role in ensuring that the Trade Promotion Authority legislation set high standards for intellectual property provisions in our trade negotiations, and we helped get that bill through Congress. Blah, blah, blah. There's more about the TPP here. Skipping ahead. In 2016, Congress will further discuss various tax reform proposals. While comprehensive reform is unlikely, activity in the coming year will lay the foundation for what many do expect to be a genuine opportunity for reform in early 2017. We have been actively educating members of Congress on the importance of lowering the corporate tax rate to be competitive with the rest of the world. The U.S. has one of the highest marginal and effective tax rates among developed countries, creating a significant competitive impediment to companies headquartered in the USA. Now, I'm going to skip now to the rest of it to the concluding paragraph.
Please, by all means.
With all of the challenges we will face this year, it is important that our PAC be strong. We therefore respectfully suggest that you consider making a contribution of redacted. Now, the Ars Technica author notes the reason why they redacted the specific amount is because the source was concerned it might be tied to whatever your income is at the company.
Got you.
Depending on your position. And so they were afraid, if they said the exact number, it might be able to be tied back to them.
Right.
You may give more or less than the suggested amount, although no contribution can exceed $5,000 in any year, and any contribution will be appreciated. As always, 100% of your contribution is used in direct support of candidates and political entities that uphold policies and principles that are consistent with the best interests of our company. Disney PAC contributes equally to Democrats and Republicans each calendar year. For your convenience, here's the kicker.
Okay.
For your convenience, Disney PAC has implemented a payroll deduction system through which your contributions to the PAC will be deducted from your weekly paycheck. If you prefer, you may instead make a one-time personal contribution to the PAC. Your contribution is important to all of us, but I want to emphasize that all contributions are voluntary and have no impact on your job status, performance review, compensation, or employment. Any amount given or the decision not to give will not advantage or disadvantage you. You have the right to refuse to contribute without reprisal. Your help is truly appreciated. Signed, Bob Iger.
The right to refuse.
The last thing I will note here too is just at a brief glance at his Wikipedia page. Bob Iger was a registered Democrat up until 2016.
What happened then?
And then he was like, I don't know. It could go one way or the other.
They got what they wanted. They got the lower corporate tax rate.
That was the year. That was the year where he was suddenly receptive to Republican politics.
And there was something really crazy. I was actually...
Do your own research.
I was listening to a podcast, I won't say what the name was, but somebody talked about the gentrification of the Democratic Party. Then that term is just stuck in my head. And it was talking about how like Democrats have just like now it's just like, oh no, if you're smart, you want lower taxes. And Democrats are suckers and are like, whoa, but I want to be smart. I'm the one that went to college. You know? And that kind of fits into that whole genre of just like this completely nonsensical thinking. And I'm really happy that you brought up the PACs because wouldn't you know that there has only ever been one legal challenge to the Copyright Term Extension Act? And it came in 2002 via the Supreme Court case, Eldred v. Ashcroft. Now, what Eldred v. Ashcroft did was they argued this is completely unconstitutional. You cannot hold on to a work for like 190 years. That's insane. You know, like we have to let things enter the public domain over time.
Fucking Magna Carta.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court listened to this argument. So this was argued in 2002. It was decided on in 2003 in a 7-2 decision that the Copyright Term Extension Act was actually constitutional. And would you guys like to hear who was on the yay side?
I'm literally Googling it right now.
RBG.
Please go ahead.
RBG is the first name on the majority.
No way.
Yeah.
Yes, Queen.
So,
yes.
Who wrote the opinion? Who wrote the opinion?
I almost guarantee you William Rehnquist wrote the opinion because he was Chief Justice at the time. So the majority was Ruth Bader Ginsburg joined by Ruth Bader Ginsburg wrote this fucking opinion. You are kidding me.
No.
It says Ginsburg joined by and then the others. I think RBG actually wrote it. She was joined by William Rehnquist, Sandra Day O'Connor, Antonin Scalia.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Justice.
That's some bipartisan fucking
Chris, I didn't show
baby.
you my shirt. You want to see my shirt?
I absolutely. I would love to.
It's good, dude.
Hell yeah, dude. To the listener, the shirt says Antonin Scalia is dead. Which is just wonderful.
Justice
he is
Kennedy,
dead.
Associate Justice Kennedy, Associate Justice Souter, and wouldn't you know it, our good friend Clarence Thomas. The only
now considering that a number of those justices are now dead. How long does that ruling then stay in the intellectual property of
25 more years?
Well, if RBG wrote it and she died in, it looks like we will have it by the year 2094. You'll be allowed to do whatever you want with it.
That's good. When I'm in my retirement on Muskland Colony 8,
buddy,
mining fucking helium-3 from Mars
for Ethereum graphics cards. Yeah.
to mine more Bitcoin.
Yeah, the only two people selling on this.
the outer belt Bitcoin mining operation. Yeah,
But there'll be like rebellion graffiti of like Mickey Mouse on the Mars colony, and Disney will send out a squad of space marines to just
fucking murk us, man. Just murder us.
Can you imagine something like suicide by copyright, where people just crying or drawing pictures of Mickey Mouse on their bedroom wall, waiting for the cops to just shoot them in the fucking head?
Shoot me! Do it! Stop!
No.
The only two people who dissented on this is Stevens and Breyer. Breyer, who has had a weird conservative streak all throughout his Supreme Court rulings, did the right thing here and said that it's fucking stupid to hold on to an idea for this long, especially since the vast majority of it's going to be held by the corporation that published it.
Let's also, really quick too, and I know I've made this point a couple of times, but like when we talk about like the idea, like what is the idea? And in this case, it's like the idea of like, what if a cartoon rat? It's not like an amazing idea that has any value. It's just like, what if a rat was cartoon?
Yeah.
It's just like weird fascistic German and Italian recycled stories from the 1800s. Yeah. Put into cartoons.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing shit, and this is where I feel like I want to go big brain mode and talk about why
hit us.
I think that...
Expand.
Yeah, all right, so I want you guys to open up your third eye. I want you to get massively big brain mode with me, and let's talk about Disney as a legal entity that is pushing through decisions that on its surface sound silly, and they are done like that on purpose because it sounds dumb to rule against them. And my biggest example of this odd framing, that this, literally, this all stems to the Federalist Society, right? Where it's like, Disney is extremely powerful with its lobbying power. It has one of the most easy to predict revenue streams in the world. I feel like investing in Disney is as safe as investing in oil at this point. Like, Disney will return a profit. It just does. They have the formula figured out, which, I mean, that's its own problem. But we start looking at these cases where Disney is the bad guy. And it's like, it's silly little stuff like that, right? It's the $250 admission to The Lion King. You know, it's like, oh, that sounds so goofy, right? On that surface, that sounds funny. But you know what else sounds fucking funny? Oh, you're telling me a wedding cake company has to make something for gay people? Because that's the same exact thing that conservatives argue. Because they're like, oh, it sounds funny, so you don't need to take it seriously. Right?
Right.
And Disney, I swear to God, if we're going big brain mode, Disney does this shit on purpose. They make this stuff sound absurd to a point where it's like, what are you going to do to argue against it? Where else are you going to go? They shouldn't have been painting cartoon murals, and we'll be the bad guy because other companies are going to implement this legal practice. You know, we've set a legal precedent. Now they can behave however the fuck they want, right? Like, this to me is like why Disney is so evil. It has all the cultural buy-in of being like an American mainstay with like the ability to do whatever the fuck it wants because nobody's ever going to leave it because we can't. And that's why I get so fucking angry whenever I think about Disney. Because, like Disney, on its surface, it's like, oh, what, you're getting mad about comic book movies? And it's like, no, it's the precedent that they set. It's the fact that the Department of Defense literally has the most powerful PR wing in the world. They've already penetrated the NFL. They've already penetrated the Major League Baseball. And now they're going into like your entertainment too. And they aren't just pitching the Department of Defense as, oh, it's necessary and we're sad that we have to use them. It's like, aren't we lucky that we have the boys in camo protecting us? Because, like, that's ultimately what this is. And then you could even get even bigger brained mode with this and say that superheroes are built on top of the Ubermensch myth of, like, the super soldier looking at you, Captain America, literally is what he was. But, like, this to me is, like, this is why I get so angry with this stuff. This is all legal precedents, and they used it. Disney's the heel. Everybody knows that Disney's evil. So they get to do whatever they want. And because they've acted like this, at the end end of the world, when we're all living in our flooded, billionaire-owned neo-serfdom plots of land, there will only be two companies at the end of the world, and it's going to be Amazon and Disney, because those two seem to never have anything legal go wrong, like against them. And Amazon's just going to deliver you Disney products. That's my dystopian vision. And I think I'm going to stop going big brain mode here for a second. I think I feel like I gave myself an aneurysm.
They are clearly, maneuvering themselves with their weightiness that, this is something we talk about a lot on the program, especially that, like, with a company like this that doesn't have, like, a specific human personality that's at the helm driving the larger ideological force that's, like, making these decisions to enhance monopolistic power in the United States and abroad, or enhance intellectual property consolidation under, into the hands of an increasingly smaller amount of people. It's its own entity. Walt Disney is dead. Bob Iger's no longer the CEO, and whoever the CEO is going to be next year, in the next 10 years or 20 years, the ideological drive, the kind of like wanton hoarding that this company has is one that spans beyond just intellectual property, but it's also like has to do with the tendency of the rate of profit to fall. It's like at that point, all you can do if new mercantile activity doesn't necessarily bring you like a huge amount of profit based off of the inputs that you put in, well, then you just have to own everything.
Yeah. And
then you just become the middleman. Then you just become the bottleneck. The rate limiting step. If you want to have you and your family entertained, with the little bit of bread and circus that we get, you got to come to us.
Yep. And having one person be the sole arbiter of whatever your cultural consumption is will give you exactly what you think it's going to give you. We're going to see media that stamps out any sort of populist angle. We're going to see media that pitches you the defense is not only necessary, but is something you need to respect right now. You know what I mean? And, like, I think the thing that I hate the most about Disney, and this is just kind of like a self-hating thing, I guess, at this point, is that they really did remove the veil. Because I used to think that there was some culture to the United States. There was something here, right? And Disney just kind of showed that the more that you acquire, the more you just get to sell. Because, like that's the inherent nature of capitalism. And this is actually what I finally remembered, is capitalism, because of the shareholder model, is so nearsighted. They never think, whenever they talk about what's our long-term vision, just know that they don't care. They're just making noise.
No.
They're just talking to a room because it feels good to say that sentence. All they care about is 3 months from now. And that's why they keep acquiring more and more, because the profit model demands more and more. They need bigger returns or they're going to pull all their money and you're going to crash. But like Disney doing this, it really did pull the veil. Like, we are not we don't have a culture. Our culture is consumption. And we don't even get the consumption anymore. We have there's 12 companies now. There's 12.
Yes.
Yeah, the fact that it's you have to celebrate the billionaires and you have to applaud the billionaires that built up these companies that are just... I'm just saying that there are certain leaders in human history that had the right idea on how to handle people who monopolized industries.
That's right. That's right. Let's put it this way. It's going to be dealt with in one way. Either they are going to cannibalize us and it's going to... I'm not going to describe what Mr. Movies is emoting. It's either they are going to cannibalize us, as they are, starting to and continuing to do now, or there is going to be some, let's just say, a punctuated change, a kind of acute change that will happen in a very small amount of time. And there's plenty of historical precedent to show us this. When you push people, and it's not like, I agree with you very much, Mr. Movies, that it's purposely made to sound funny.
Yes,
because they need to do that, because it's well, who cares about cartoons? But if we don't have our art, well, then what the fuck do we have?
Yeah, what is it? You're literally, it's you just even take away the escape. You're a cog in a machine, you're a hog, You be miserable and then kill yourself. If not, die from old age. You don't have health care. I'm sorry. Right? And it's manufactured to be that. The gay cake case, I guarantee you there was like 12 court cases of like gay couples who couldn't use wedding venues. And they're like, oh no, that sounds too serious. You know? Oh, there's legal precedent there. But it's because it's the cake. Because it's like, oh, cake is silly. Just go somewhere else. But the precedent of that is so much more dangerous. So is the precedent of allowing a company to acquire every giant in its industry and then just go, oh, but there are 3 other options, so it's okay. And this type of reasoning will be the same reasoning that AT&T is going to merge with Time Warner Cable, and then they'll eventually merge with Comcast NBC, maybe. Maybe they'll go out and they'll merge with Spectrum. Maybe AT&T will just buy T-Mobile and also have all of Europe under its thing. And that sounds ridiculous now, but in 5 years when people are genuinely flirting with the idea of it, do know that Disney set the precedent. They showed how much you can get away with, and as long as you just go, yeah, and what the fuck are you going to do about it? The Supreme Court will let you merge with whatever the fuck you want. God, I hate him so much.
Oh, yeah.
Walt Disney, eat my ass 3000.
Wow. Okay.
I was going to just quickly say, just to the idea that it like sounds absurd or whatever, right? Like manufacturing consent first came out in like 1988, 1987, 1988. Herman Chomsky, right? They were talking about like the filters of the mass media that allow and perpetuate a certain kind of propaganda model of like pro-capitalist, pro-business thing in the media, and the main one was like the ownership of the media. And at that point, they were talking about like this consolidation that had happened over the 20th century, where it was like where there used to be like all these different media companies. Now there's like, I don't know, there was like 50 of them that own like the main things. And then even in the course of our lifetime, right? Like when I was in my like early 20s, that had already turned into like 6. It was like 6 companies owned the vast majority of all the media, right? And then I remember there was like 1 merger, and then it became 5. And even, that was like, ooh, spooky. And now you're approaching a case like, at least within certain industries, Disney might be the majority, period, right? Like that is very reasonable to happen. I mean, if nothing else changes in the next couple of years. And, one of the points that you brought up earlier about the Paramount decision, right, was like about this idea of like vertical integration. Yep. Because it used to be in old Hollywood times, right? Vertical integration meant like you had like production, distribution, and exhibition. These were all different fields of broadcast media, or in this case like the film industry. So you have one company would produce the film, then you have another company would distribute it, and then another company would exhibit it. And what happened is they all consolidated in this way of vertical integration, where it just became one thing, where it was like you're gonna go see like a Warner Brothers picture, you go to the Warner Brothers theater, and you're sitting there, and who gets the film from the production company to the theater? It's another Warner Brothers joint. And that was the whole like approach of antitrust or anti-monopoly legislation at the time. Was like, okay, that can't be. We have to break that up for a variety of reasons. And now, like you were saying, like with Disney Plus and like all the various other like tendrils they have into streaming, right? All of that's just collapsed again. Yeah. and it feels like it's a slide backwards.
It almost feels like it's worse than when the Paramount decision started, because there are these companies that are like, okay, so their argument against the Paramount decision, why like the Paramount decision, I don't know if how the ruling works, like that it could expire or that it'd be overturned, but the legal argument that I've seen from these literally like, these fucking Federalist Society goons is that like there are so many media production sources now that we don't need to have this rule anymore, because all that you're doing is you've created a new monopoly of movie theaters, which is its own problem. You could address that and say like every city needs their own indie theater, but beyond that, the argument is like, okay, well, there are Netflix original series, there's Hulu original, and it's like, well, Hulu original is a Disney original because they're the majority shareholder now. Also, Netflix, I still don't think they've made money. Like, I'm pretty sure they've operated on losses for like the last, how long have they been around?
Cash
it's like
flow,
these companies
baby.
are built to, they're like built to collapse. Netflix, the day that one major movie goes, yeah, we aren't putting it on Netflix because we think you guys are going to crash, Netflix will crash. But that's the thing is, like, as long as these companies are here, they're going to be the justified reason for why Disney can do whatever it wants. And I really do think that Amazon is flirting. Amazon was talking about purchasing AMC outright until the beautiful boys at Wall Street bets decided to inflate AMC stock sky high. But if Amazon would have purchased it, what's the Paramount decision going to do? You think the Supreme Court's going to step in and say it's unconstitutional? The supposedly like solid decision making of that, they're just going to go, nah, you could stream the movies though, so this is fine because there's a new medium. It's not just theaters anymore.
And another factor, of course, that has happened over the last year that plays into this too is COVID.
Yeah,
and how that's impacted the film industry, and particularly with Disney and Marvel. I saw a thing a few weeks ago that was like, because Marvel had become this like fucking assembly line operation where they'd planned all of these projects way in advance, so it would be like 3 movies coming out a year, and then a bunch of them they suspended the release of them even though they were finished because of COVID. Now in the back half of 2021 there's going to be 4 Marvel film releases that happen in it's fucking July, September, November, and December. It's just going to be fucking Marvel movie after Marvel movie. And interestingly, again, thinking towards how this is going to restructure everything, because people are now understandably apprehensive about actually going to the theater. Disney is making it so that if you are a Disney Plus subscriber, you can pay an extra premium to see these films when they come out. I think it's $30.
It's literally $30.
Yeah. So instead of paying to go see it in the theater, you can pay it directly on your TV, and then you get access to it for, I don't know, renting the amount of time that it costs to rent a movie or something. But the weird fucking thing about that is another way that you can work around. Now we don't have to pay AMC.
Yep.
Now we don't have to pay, we don't have to share any profits with anybody else. We can do a direct thing, and maybe eventually, when the movie theaters entirely crash, whether it's Amazon or Disney itself, that just then buys out all those movie theaters. And then in the fucking 20 years from now, when none of us have legs or clean air, you go, and it's not even you go to see a movie anymore. It's just let's go see a Disney. Yeah. And you go to the Disney hub that's in the center of your fortified settlement. Next to the temple to Baal or whatever, and or Disney will probably have bought that out too.
Yeah,
I'm imagining post-Soviet collapse, how they all still had the statues of Lenin in each of our major cities. We're just gonna have Mickey Mouse pointing out to the horizon, showing us the future.
There is no future. God is dead,
and we killed him.
Worship at the feet of the falcon.
Oh, feed the beast. It yearns for young flesh. Yeah, it's real fucking bad. And the writing's on the walls, by the way, for the Paramount decision to go away. Amazon literally has flirted with the idea of owning AMC, owning a major theater chain. But if you watch any Amazon production, there's the title cards of this is the movie company, this is the distribution company, and they all flash beforehand. Amazon's is a street that goes up to a theater that says Amazon Productions or something like that. They're going to do it, and there's nothing we can do about it, because what's the alternative? You stay at home and you lose out on your sweet cultural zeitgeist. You don't get the references. But I want to watch WandaVision with my friends, and I don't know what any of these outfits mean.
Jeez Christ, guys.
Thanks for letting me come on the show, guys.
Oh my God.
So what did you think of WandaVision?
I haven't seen a single second of it.
Me either.
I'm not actively protesting it. It's just the people who like that type of stuff seem to really like it, and I'm a big fan of catnip media. That's you're really making something for the base, your feral base. I respect that. But at the same time, man, is it not made for me. I watch RoboCop bi-weekly. If WandaVision had a RoboCop scene, I would be all over it. But it's just not
I
made
don't know
for
what
me.
the fuck any of this
You
shit
don't know
is.
RoboCop?
You don't know RoboCop?
Yeah, no. It's,
American
the guy
Jesus.
the guy from Screamers, right?
Screamers is a good
Screamers
movie.
is
It
great,
really
yeah.
is.
And Screamers is a good movie. Don't fuck me. All right. That's a Philip K. Dick story.
One of my favorites. One of my favorite movies.
But one of
Yeah.
the all-time great American authors, who I can't wait to see Disney's iteration of Valus.
You know, Amazon has a show it's called like
Man in the High Castle?
No. Well, they have Man in the High Castle. That was like their hallmark one for a while. But they have now like, a couple of years ago they made like a sort of Black Mirror competitor that was called I think just like Electric Dreams.
Oh,
or
yes,
something.
yeah. I saw ads for that,
where
yeah.
it was supposed to be like a Twilight Zone thing, and it was based on whatever Philip K. Dick stories they could buy the rights to, and of course Philip K. Dick, prior to the Man in the Castle, wrote just like bullshit sci-fi pulp. A lot of it is not very good. I've read some of those novels, so it's not a great show. But in any case, they own it all. Is the point? Every little bit of good, interesting culture is just it's owned in perpetuity for 1,000 years, 10,000 years,
Or at least 190.
1,000,000 years is the figure that Mr. Movies gave me, and I will repeat that and cite him as the source.
Thank you.
1,000,000 years.
Yeah, I need to throw in here. I would be remiss if I did not at least include Richard Cook, the chairman of Walt Disney Studios from 2002 to 2009, like within Bob Iger's tenure at the company. 3 trips on the Lolita Express.
No shit.
No.
On the flight logs, yeah.
No.
So make of that what you will.
Ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Just totally ubiquitous.
On my old account, I used to go on Woody Allen Truther Twitter, and one of my favorite things to do is post that one picture that has Woody Allen and Jeffrey Epstein in frame.
They have a picture together?
They do, yeah.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, it's Woody walking with, I'm completely forgetting her name. It should be the opposite. I should know her name and not know his. Hang on, Woody
Ex-wife?
Allen.
Mia Farrow?
Yeah, Mia Farrow. Wait, Jeffrey Epstein. Here we go. Let's go, baby. Show me the picture. There it is.
No way.
There it is. Bow.
Oh no, that's with her. That's with her. With his.
Sun Yi.
Yeah, that's Sun Yi.
Yeah, his adopted daughter.
Look at that, guys.
Wife.
Can you believe it? Same place at the
I'll
same
be
time. How weird is that?
It's just so weird.
So
it's so weird how they're all friends.
So the second that I
I'll
would
be
see
damned.
somebody go like, I have my doubts, I would just post the Woody Allen Jeffrey Epstein picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking psycho.
Listen. For the people that don't know, where can they find your podcast and Patreon?
Literally anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. I host it off of SoundCloud, but whatever app you guys want to use. I am Mr. Movies of the Mr. Movies podcast. I do a lot of it started, so the show started out being me doing like literal radio plays that took like 25 to 30 hours to make weekly.
Oh, I remember the
so
first
good.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, the Italians one, which literally
Yeah.
is so loud that it causes damage to speakers if you have it at the right volume.
As Italians will do.
I had no idea what I was doing. And then it just gradually just went into film discussions and film recaps, and now I just go big brain mode and talk about different ways that these films relate to our culture. Because movies are, in my opinion, like the most important thing that America produces culturally. And you will have some really valuable insights whenever you look into, I don't know, movies that are deeply fascist like American Sniper, and even movies made by socialists like Ken Loach. Everything, they're worth discussing, they're worth analyzing. And if you like that type of stuff, just listen to my show and subscribe to the Patreon, please. I'm begging him. I've missed a lot of episodes on the free feed, but I've never missed a Patreon episode. I'm proudly saying that.
I wish we could say the same.
Interesting how I call myself a
content
socialist, but I only deliver consistently for the paying.
That's right. Because everybody knows that's what socialism is.
Absolutely.
It's not paying for things.
Yeah. Yeah, if money's involved, it's not socialism.
That's it. That's how it works. That's how everybody knows how it works.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I just want to plug a new show I'm doing called Monsieur Cinema, where I do these kind of like old-timey radio plays about, films.
We did Un Chien Andalou as a Mayvie film. Yeah, it's a lot of fun writing out silent dialogue. I've also had the 2 of the 3 Eat the Rich Boys on the podcast.
Yeah, you know it,
It's coming up, man. It's coming up. We got to talk it out.
We have to talk about why Borat 2 is not the great movie everybody thinks it is.
It sucked. No, it sucked. It was bad.
Borat 2...
It was all lib humor.
Yeah, and it also painted the South as not only being poor, but being, like, stupid, and that's why they're Republican. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, something weird just happened to my recording, and I need to stop. So, thank you.
Uh-oh.
Thank you for having me on. Goodbye.
Did it just cut out, really?
You good?
We're good? Okay.
Stay cool, everybody.
Good night,
Mr. Movies,
everybody.
thank
you. Mr. Movies, it's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Well, folks, we're in a great position. Our stock is strong, our box office numbers are consistent, and we control more media than we ever have at any point in the history of our company. So, you may ask, what else could we possibly want? More? Precisely. And with that, I now turn things over to our fearless leader, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Bob Iger.
Thank you, Mickey. The watchword for the year is autocannibalization. We can maximize our profits without much imagination, so all our beloved properties can reasonably expect a really simple film to show, to book, to theme park right trajectory. We'll remake movies shot for shot and not even rewrite them. Make a copy of a copy on and on ad infinitum. And our rivals at the box office can never hope to clobber us as long as we keep acting like a ravenous Ouroboros.
Hey, that picture was for your eyes only, Mickey.
The Walt Disney Company retains the right to use your likeness in any media worldwide and in perpetuity.
Oh. By churning out recycled product fast if somewhat sloppily, our company will top the entertainment oligopoly.
Our company will top the entertainment oligopoly.
Should one of our competitors perchance achieve some prominence, we offer them a wad of cash and thus assert our dominance. The people look to us to entertain them and inspire them, and as the saying goes, if you can't beat them, then acquire them. From Marvel, Fox, and Lucasfilm to Pixar Animation, we're on track to reach our goal of universal domination. And if you think this all sounds a bit too David and Goliath-y, tough shit, because we live in a commercialist society. Until the day our company achieves complete monopoly, we'll have to be content with entertainment oligopoly.
We'll have to be content with entertainment oligopoly.
Great suggestions, but I fear we've lost sight of why we're here. Spreading joy by telling stories masterfully. Don't be blinded by your greed. We have all the cash we need. Why not share our movies with the world for free?
What?
Think about it. Everyone who worked on the old ones is long dead, so why not gift them to the public domain? What could be more noble and generous than that? Besides, the way we do business is unsustainable. If we keep acquiring more and more, where does it end? This kind of hyper-capitalism is immoral, it's irresponsible, and it's destroying the planet. Friends, I propose we scale back, focus less on making profits and more on making art. Return to our roots by telling new stories with beautiful hand-drawn animation.
I trust there will be no further interruptions. And now, for the most important item on today's agenda. Now introducing Disney Plus, our brand new streaming service at a low, low price that ought to make the folks at Netflix nervous. We own so many properties so eminently saleable, so let's make Disney Plus the only place that they're available. The streaming wars have started, and my friends, it's open season. Our entire canon will be on there.
Really?
Within reason. Nostalgia for our better days will be our bread and butter. We'll milk every single cash cow till they're bleeding from the udder, cause the masses are so desperate to combat their daily tedium. They'll pay for things they bought already already in a different medium. We'll navigate the waters as they crash around us sharply. Provide escapist wish fulfillment cynically and soppily. Consumers won't complain, they'll give us all their money happily. And that's the beauty of an entertainment oligopoly. That's the beauty of an entertainment oligopoly. That's the beauty of an entertainment oligopoly.